let's go back in your career,
Okay.
right? So we talked about, you spent 8 years in advertising. We talked about some of the learnings there. Then you transitioned to ESPN, and you had a bunch of different really cool jobs at ESPN, right? Whether it was the X Games, you had the whole kind of racing circuit, NASCAR, IndyCar. You did tennis for a while, then you did fantasy, did the whole digital thing. And I think one of the things that was interesting for me when I looked at your background was you talked a lot about storytelling when it came to ESPN. And the reality is that all of those things, come down to ESPN as a publisher, right? And ESPN's job is to tell a story and to get people excited and keep them entertained. And obviously that's the skill set I would imagine that you kind of have pulled with you, right? So when you think about storytelling and some of the lessons that you learned there, like what did you observe? What was it that you've like drawn with you about that kind of skill set?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things. It's something I think I've always wished I was better and better at. And I guess that's probably like the first observation or first truth I'd pull out is good storytelling, like really good, compelling storytelling is really hard. Like that. And I say that because I think it's a rare talent that can conceive, build, and tell a story by themselves, especially in the world of marketing, advertising, brand building. So I guess a core truth about good storytelling is I think it's a team sport, and I feel like good storytelling is a team sport, and I feel like as soon as I realized that, which was again, it was at ESPN, right? Because coming out of the world of advertising, there were copywriters and art directors. And they would build the story and they would give me the story. And then I have to go sell it to a bunch of people that had no part in building the story. It's different these days, right? That was a while ago. But yeah, like at ESPN, finding a way to bring different and disparate streams of creativity and perspective and point of view together into one cohesive narrative always makes for a better story, I think. And so I think that, there's a lot of things I can slap that team sport moniker onto, but I think storytelling is maybe at the root of it, right? At ESPN, we worked with amazing agency partners, and those agency partners were always open to letting us be a part of the conversation, which was the first aha moment for me. It was like, oh, I get to be part of this, right? As a client, as a marketer, I get to be part of telling the story. We worked with amazing executive producers, right? People that lived and breathed all these sports. They were on the ground all the time. They knew all the insights, athletes, and ins and outs of the fans. And we worked with some of the best writers in the world. And when it all came together is when it turned into gold. And I think that's like, and that gold was probably like, I don't know if truth number two, I think in three, so I might try and pull out a third, but like truth, like truth number two is like the best times, the best stories we told immersed people in a world authentically. Right. Like, and building stories from your own experience, right? This kind of goes back to the consumer insights. Building stories from your own experience always helps the team. I saw a great quote, and I can't remember where it's from, but it was basically like, when you're in a situation and you feel a certain way, the best stories make someone else feel that same way. And without them being there. And that's an amazing art, right? That's an amazing skill when you can get sounds and smells and a feeling communicated through a piece of work, whether it's a piece of writing or a piece of film. So like what's so interesting is like like we had this, when I worked on NASCAR, and have you ever been to a race?
No, but I really want to. I've heard I need to sit in the infield and just breathe it in. You know what I mean? Which I really do want to do. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So like, that's why I asked it. So like the first time when I first started working on motorsports, I was like, this is great. This is super exciting. I get to work on a big sport. It's a big business. It's incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
This is going to be great. I'm ready. And everyone was like, no, before you start working on this, you have to go to a race. So let's pick a race, which race you're going to go to, because you really can't work on the sport until you are at a race. And I was like, I've been to sporting events. I love sports. I've been to football and hockey and basketball. But they're not wrong, right? And the first time you get into a race, like there is nothing like being in the infield and the smells and the sounds and the roar of the engines and the flyovers and the people and the noise. And like at Daytona, it's like 200,000+ people in one place experiencing one massive cultural and sporting event. And like the brief for us was tell that story, that full sensory experience, and do it through a marketing campaign, right? Do it through a broadcast and a campaign. And that was the brief we charged ourselves with. We said, how are we going to do this? Like, how do we actually how do you script a story around something that's so emotional and so visceral? And in the end, so we worked with Wyman Kennedy, they're such an incredibly talented partner of ours. And in the end, we actually ended up working with a documentary film director named Doug Prey. And he'd done some amazing work, like profiling subcultures, I guess. And we said, like, NASCAR is a kind of a subculture. Like, you have to, without being there, how do you experience it? And in the end, we went through the traditional process. We built out the brief and the plans and the budget and scripted out some spots. But I think what really unlocked that storytelling is we worked with the director, with the writers, with the agency, with the executive producers of NASCAR. And we just went to Daytona for a week and we filmed everything. We filmed fans and drivers and flyovers and practice and inside the cars and outside the cars. And in the end, it turned into an, I think, amazing campaign. I think the line was "Feel Your Heart Race," right? Which is, again, like tapping right into that emotion of the track. But it also turned into a 30-minute documentary that aired on ABC. And it was a completely accidental piece of work, but how we captured it and kind of the rawness of it and the realness of the fans, I thought was like one of those times when really good storytelling was told in a very authentic and truthful way.